get everything from him. Peace. It's Dude Daniels here with another 72-hour book read. And today's book is The Everything Store. Sorry, I got that little glare in the background. Jeff Bezos and the Age of Amazon. Is that what it says? Yeah. It's written by Brad Stone, a journalist who followed Amazon throughout the years. Coming off the reading about the MJ book, when you know MJ the Life, then you go into a book like that. These are like extraordinary type of dudes, really because of their mindset. Their frame of mind was completely different than the average guy. If you're playing on a high level, these dudes are doing big time things, and you know, really this is like a biography, not a biography on Jeff Bezos, but a biography on Amazon. And Jeff is the anchor to Amazon. In 1995, I believe the company got started. He had the idea. Once he saw what the power the internet could bring to people, and he decided to have what he called back then an everything store. And this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to put the lowest prices of everything online so that you can go online to get everything from him. He didn't want nobody else going. He didn't want you to go nowhere else. Essentially, he wanted to be the Walmart of the internet. And even though Walmart is not the be-all company in the world, a lot of people do rely on Walmart. At least a large population of middle income and even lower income people deal with Walmart. Funny story in the book is that the big companies like Circuit City, Walmart, Sears, Target, not even Target that much, but a lot of these companies, first of all, they outsource their web business to Amazon for these long year leases. I think he must have saw that coming. So he was operating their website. How does your competitor operate your website? But at any rate, the funny thing is that Walmart, which took a lot of controversy a little while back, some 20 or 10 years ago, for not allowing people for barging into communities and putting Walmarts in, which would take away the quote-unquote mom and pop shops that were supplying groceries and utensils and all the things that Walmart supplies. These people got angry at Walmart, and then Amazon was pretty much doing the exact same thing to Walmart, and they started. One thing that's consistent about guys like Larry and Serge from Google, the Google guys, any other big company dude out there, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, before he passed away, is that these dudes, to a large degree, recruit the best, and they're workaholics. They infuse a work environment, and by all means, they want to win. And Jeff's idea, and the last thing is also, they really care about what the customer wants. Now you might say, well, they didn't care about me. Like some people used to get mad at Google and say Google didn't really care about them. But when they're talking about a customer, they're talking about like a customer body. So these Jeff Bezos was enamored about how he can help his customer. And so that's one thing some people, I don't think that they really look at intently when they're starting a business. They don't look at really, how do I really make my customers happy, no matter if I have to make vendors, other companies, and other people unhappy. How do I make this customer happy all the time? And that's what drove Bezos. Plus he had this I gotta win attitude. Once he survived the dot-com bubble, it was, he was being hammered by all sides by journalists saying that, that his margins weren't wide enough to win. You got to think about what he was doing initially. So let's say they started with book sales. And so if I wanted to find this book, he would post it online, and then he would have to go buy from a bookstore warehouse, tens of thousands of these, especially if it's a bestseller, and stock them in his warehouses where he started to stock inventory. Or he would have to go search anywhere where you could find this book and then ship it. And then his thing became the shipping in 2 days feature, which of course, when people buy things, they want to get it right away. Like I ordered something and I know I'm a patient dude, but sometimes when you order something, especially something you really want right away, you want that thing right away. So that's something that he pioneered as well. And then he created a sophisticated system around it. And in creating this sophisticated system to operate the Amazon business efficiently, of course, by recruiting top-notch people, people who we consider like so-called geniuses. If you read a book did the book Bounce review, you know that sometimes geniuses are not born, they are created. Now, sometimes people might grab things a little faster than the average person, but typically geniuses are created because they go through their 10,000 hours. However, so he would go get the top-notch graduates from the top schools, and in developing the system that can handle Amazon's web needs, he realized that he had ventured into the tech space. So he had a lot of tech companies, a lot of things that that Amazon has within itself that other companies eventually needed because he was such a pioneer with the internet. The funny thing is, he saw opportunities as well. He saw the budding and the beginning of Google and was an initial investor in Google. So financially, he was very set, especially when Google's IPO went. Amazon was still struggling, but he didn't falter. He didn't give in. He was going to keep moving. Anytime he got himself into crises, he knew the thing. He actually had this quote: "Let us, let us invent our way out of this." So a lot of people, sometimes you know how things look. I can give you a basketball analogy like I normally do. You're down 10 points. There's 23 seconds left. All the fans' hearts are down. You feel the game is over, and you're like, it's over. And most people can see it, capitulate. But people like Jeff Bezos, they don't necessarily see the plan of how they're going to win the game while we only got 23 seconds left and we're down 10 points. They don't necessarily see the whole plan, the scenario. They just keep digging into the ground till the buzzer says 0. And that's kind of like, and then sometimes if you believe that hard, then the luck will shift to your side. We saw that in the finals. I think it was the 2013 or 2012 finals when the Miami Heat looked like the game was over with. I think LeBron had made a costly turnover, and they got 2 more free throws out of it. And I think they were already down like 4 points, and it was less than 30 seconds to go. But with the belief that this can still happen, I think Manu Ginobili missed the free throw, missed 1 out of 2, kept it in, so it's only a 5-point game. LeBron comes back down, he hits the 3, right? Cuts it to a 2-point game. They foul Kawhi Leonard. He goes there, misses 1 or 2. 3-point game. They go back down. LeBron misses the 3. Bosh rebound out to Ray, Walter, Allen, and boom, we're going in overtime. Momentum is ours now. We win in overtime. So sometimes, no matter how bleak a game was, I've seen Tracy McGrady do that in less than a minute, score 11 points, and beat the Spurs at the buzzer in his regular season game. So Bezos was one of those type of dudes. I don't care how far down we are. I don't care how much debt we owe, how much money we're scrambling through. I'll put my own money up to keep it going. He was that type of tenacity. And so that type of a leader is going to carry an organization. It's kind of like how Michael Jordan did. It's going to carry an organization. One thing that was a I guess a bad boy feature, something that a lot of people, a lot of employees over the years that worked at Amazon didn't like, was that he infused a Amazon gets the best deal mentality. So, for instance, they was hiring a negotiator to negotiate inventory contracts for them. And he said they were, the interview question was, well, so what's your best policy on negotiating? He said, well, I think in negotiations, everybody should come out with a win. And of course, he wasn't hired because Amazon and Jeff Bezos believed that Amazon should come out with the edge, with the advantage. And so that was his mentality. His mentality was hard-nosed, shrewd. One of those things you say, this is a shrewd business guy. He was loyal to the guys who started with him, but he was very shrewd in the manner that if you want to be a family man, you're not going to work here. If you want to be a softy, you're not going to work here. And he went off and blew up at countless employees, calling them names and things like that. But a lot of them knew that these things were coming. A lot of them knew that this came with wanting to work at Amazon and that thrill of being part of something new that was taking off. And so that was some of the things, like how Michael Jordan gets a bad rap for being such a kind of a bad boy teammate, pushing guys to an extraordinary limit by insulting and by berating them. Bezos was the same way. Most of these guys are all the same way. They're going to push people to their maximum. He felt that conflict brought the best out of people, because either you're going to get mad and quit, or you're going to get mad and prove him wrong. So I guess it's a pretty good way of having motivating people. But it was a hard-nosed type of deal, and the things that I took away from it, I think that you should take away whenever you read this book, if you do read the book, is that you have to have a mentality of getting a clear vision and hard-nosing it in face of obstacles, in face of opposition, until your goal is done. Now today, Amazon enjoys being in that conversation of one of the top companies in the world. Jeff Bezos personally enjoys being in that conversation of with the Google guys and with Steve Jobs, on the technology side, because he stayed the course. You see here Eric Spoelstra, the coach of Miami, he's saying that to the Heat players: stay the course, stay the course. You got to be wise and stay in the course, but when you got a good thing going on, you got to be able to stay the course and ride the waves and the bumps to get you there. So that's the everything store. That's how Amazon got started, and it's good reading. It's just good reading to get the stories behind how people who are extraordinary business people, how they took off, what they did. And when you know these things, it'll help you out in your career, in a lot of your dealings in life. So that's the book of the day. Oh, hold on, actually, I had another thought here. In the end, there's a couple things that just is always going to separate the winners from the losers, the givers up from the persistents, the persistenters. These are not real words either. They just are. One thing, as a child, he went to a school where they expressly expressed to children, gave them their creativity, allowed them to think big. A lot of these kids saw 12-year-old Bezos himself was amazed that one of the girls at the school that he attended was reading 12 books a week. 12 books a week. Now, I'm sure they probably weren't all thick like this, but they might have been. Who knows? And if 12-year-olds are reading books like that and getting primed to go into executive jobs, start companies, creativity, how can we make this happen? What do you think? Then us today need to start to think about what we're doing. I'm only reading a book every 72 hours, and you think about the person that's reading 12 books a week. I mean, they're just infused with a lot of information. It's like having a different conversation with people who are brilliant every single 12 times a week. That child's going to be mentally just a few steps ahead of the person who's playing 12 video games a week. And then, like I said, the final notice is the thing that separated Jeff Bezos from other internet starters, the dot-com boom, the guys that started on the internet back in the 90s. The thing that propelled him over the rest of those dudes and do that is that Bezos had a long-term mentality. Even myself, I started a couple businesses in the early 2000s. I started a business in, a consulting business in the mid 2000s, but it was everywhere. And thankfully now I've kind of focused it, but still there wasn't a long-term view on what to do. And sometimes you might be in the same spot if you ever start anything. You have to, one thing I always preach to my children is that you got to think about life when you are my age. You got to think about what you're doing at my age right now, while you're in your 30s. You got to think about that. You can't just be thinking about going to the mall tomorrow and what you're going to wear at school next week and all that kind of stuff. You got to have a long-term thought process about things, because that is what's going to allow you to persist, because you can see the end of the game and before everybody else. And if you can't see the end of the game, then when things get really fuzzy or it starts to break, then you're going to say, let's hang it up. So with that, that's the Everything Store by Brad Stone, Jeff Bezos, and the Amazon Age. Go to your local library and pick this up. Breeze through it, read it, get your own perspective. I just gave you mine. And also, or you can buy it right here on the, probably a link below, from, guess what? From Amazon. So, hope these have been helpful. Get on our newsletter. We'll send you a little bit more documented stuff that we've read. And you'll get one of these in another 72 hours. Peace.